everyone. Today I'm going to talk about two ideas that you may have read about recently. I'm going to talk about police reform and police abolition. So recently there have been a lot of conversations about race and racism because of the Black Lives Matter protests that have been happening in the US. People are demanding change and accountability from the police because so many Black people have been violently attacked and murdered. If you listen to a news report or you go on social media and read about what's happening now, you may read some words or concepts that you are not familiar with. Things like police reform, police abolition, and defunding the police. I'm going to go over some of those words and concepts today. First, let's talk about police reform. So there are some people that believe that the police do more good in society than bad. They think that it's the police job to serve and protect people. And they think the problem with policing now is that police do not have the proper education or training, or that they need stricter rules about what they can and can't do. Police reformers will advocate for things like body cams. So these are the cameras that police officers will wear on the front of their bodies that will record what they're doing. So they will say that police are much less likely to be violent if they are wearing these body cams. Or they will say certain things should be banned. For example, chokeholds should not be allowed because they're too dangerous and people are likely to die from them. They also believe in certain education or training, for example, de-escalation training, so that the police know how to calmly speak to a person rather than using violence. Police reformers will often also advocate for a more diverse police force. So they think there should be more police officers who aren't white, who are from Black communities, for example, and they argue that this will reduce the racism and violence. This is a recent example of some police reforms that some Black Lives Matter activists are advocating for. Okay, and now I'm going to talk about police abolition. So activists who are abolitionists want an end to policing. They see policing as designed to be violent and racist. So unlike people who believe in police reform, they do not think there's any changes that can make much of a difference. One of the demands of abolitionists is first to defund the police, so to take the money that usually goes to the police and to give it to other areas. For example, in areas like education, healthcare, or affordable housing. In many cities in the US, police receive a lot of money. In Los Angeles, for example, 54% of the city's budget is for policing. Abolitionists reject reforms because they argue that for decades the US has been trying to reform the police and it hasn't made police any less violent. They argue that police are usually called to police people who are poor and homeless, but that it would be better if that money went towards affordable housing or free housing. Also, many police often respond to people who are mentally ill, and abolitionists say it would be better if social workers or psychologists were the ones who were called to help instead of the police. Police abolition is an idea that's been around for decades, especially in the US, but until recently it was considered very radical by many people. But the recent protests have changed many people's minds, and now there is more support for defunding the police. In the city of Minneapolis, which is the city where George Floyd was killed and where the protests began, the city has voted to defund the police department.